Howdy everybody, this is Harvey Media, and this is... I haven't thought of a name for this show. I guess Quick Look At is the first thing that comes to mind, but I think Linkar already took that one, so I'll come up with something, it doesn't matter. This is, as promised last week, when I looked at Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'm going to be looking at Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And no, next week I'm not going to be looking at Revenge of the Sith. Next week I'll probably be looking at some horror film or other, or talking about some news. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do next week is the point. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm done watching Star Wars for now. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, is what should have been the plot of Star Wars Episode 1. Because this is where the actual plot of the prequel trilogy begins. You spend an entire movie just sort of meandering and doing pretty much jack all, and then Episode 2 begins the actual plot, the Clone War. The Clone War, which is what is the Clone Wars ended in Episode 3, and all of the spin-off franchise material has been about the Clone War. And I mean videos and video games and stuff like that. There has been franchise material that's spun off of Episode 1, but none of it had to do with Naboo. None of it had to do with the Trade Federation. I'm sure that there are going to be dozens of people now who are going to come out at me and slam me and show me how I'm wrong. But, okay. When I was a kid, and Episode 1 came out, there were dozens of books that I picked up, Expanded Universe novels, that I picked up that had to do with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan training before, and when Episode 2 came out, there was tons of stuff about Obi-Wan and Anakin training before, and Boba Fett after this movie, but I never read anything or saw anything about Padme ruling Naboo or the Gungan stuff or anything like that. That no one cared about that. There was no book about the oppressiveness of the Trade Federation. No one gives a shit. So, Star Wars Episode 2 is a stronger movie than Episode 1 in a bizarre sort of way. Like, it kind of does a flip-flop of Episode 1. You remember what I said, or maybe you don't remember because you didn't see the video, but in my Episode 1 review I said that Anakin is the strongest part of the movie. He's sort of a subplot. The main plot of the film, the Star War plot of the film, is very weak sauce. In this film, the Star War plot of the film is actually much, much stronger and much, much more interesting. And the Anakin subplot has become absolutely unbearable to watch. Hayden Christensen, I don't know why more people don't hate you as opposed to poor little Jake Lloyd, because you suck so much. Part of it is not your fault. Okay, so part of it is the fault of the writing. The character of Anakin as he appears in this movie has no relation to the character in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In The Phantom Menace, they set up the character of Anakin Skywalker very well, I thought. And I was very much looking forward. I wasn't looking forward, I knew what was coming. I'd seen this movie before, but like, I should have been looking forward to this character growing and changing, but like really developing, like characters should. But instead, George Lucas doesn't know how to make a character turn dark. So instead of having it make sense, he just turns Anakin into this entitled, whiny bitch. And there's no connection. Like, he just whines and whines and whines and whines. And you just hate every minute of your life when he's on screen. Anakin should not be like this. Anakin should be like a combination of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. That's what he should be. He should be like a midpoint between the he's naive, but he's also an asshole. Like, he is the best, and he fucking knows it, man. He fucking knows it. And when I say he knows it, I don't mean he's like, Obi-Wan knows I'm better than him, he's holding me back. No, I mean he knows it. Like certain moments, like jumping into the ship and going off, and complaining and making his mother let him join into the pod race so that he can save the day. You know, little things like that. He is the best, and he knows it. But he's also got this real streak of a desire for justice and social change in him. Him killing the Sandman is a very big moment in the Sandman, and should be in the movie. It should be Tusken Raiders, if we want to be a little bit more generally non-gender specific. And it should be a big moment, but it shouldn't be the way it is. Like in this film, he's just a complete emotional cripple who just loses his shit and kills and just massacres everyone. That should not be what happens. What should happen, the story he tells Padme is like, I killed them all. I was angry because they took my mother from me, and because there is no justice in this world, and they just go and they kill everyone, and I'm going to make sure that they were never going to kill anyone again, that no little boy was ever going to miss his mother, and then I killed them all. And then I killed this one Tusken Raider who came out to attack me. And it was a woman. I didn't know it was a woman. There was no way I could have. They're all wrapped up, but she had a son. He was no older than I was when I left Tatooine, and he ran out with and grabbed his mother's bantha stick. And he attacked me with it, and I couldn't do anything. I ran. I grabbed my mother's body and I ran. I ran from everything. I couldn't. What have I done? You know, something like that. Something like that. And then suddenly, the character has so much more dimension to him, and he can see what he might become. Of course, it's not going to make any difference. Eventually, he's going to continue down that dark path. But that turns the entire scene into less of a, oh my gosh, this guy's a dangerous psychopath. Why do we allow him to be near forks, much less lightsabers, and more like a darker version of the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader dream sequence from Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars movie. That's what should have happened. That's what it should have been like. And when he was being a hero, he should have been less sort of like whiny and grumpy and all the time, because they think that having him stare at everyone like this means that he's edgy and dark. No, he should have been cocky. He should have been an asshole. He should have been, but like a fun asshole, like Han Solo, and been going around and being exciting and fun. The other misstep of the film is Count Dooku, I think. In the end, I was actually really interested in Count Dooku's character in this movie, as underdeveloped as it was, and then they kind of ruined it, because at the end of the film, it was revealed that, because throughout the film you think, because he reveals to Obi-Wan Darth Sidious is in charge of the Council, and in charge of the Republic, and Obi-Wan's like, no, he's not, and he's like, yeah, he fucking is. And Obi-Wan's like, no, I don't believe you. It is impossible. And he's like, search your feelings, you know it to be true. And he's like, no. Okay, it doesn't really happen like that, but yeah, I just couldn't resist. It's Star Wars. I'm running out of time, so I promised I was going to keep this to one video. So let me quickly wrap up. But so in the end, it's revealed that he's actually working for Sidious, and this is another one of those really convoluted plans that shouldn't work, where, I planned it all along, my plan is great. So yeah, yeah, so it turns out, you thought you were getting an interesting character, but no, Darth Tyrannus, as he's called, is actually just another bad guy. Just another random bad guy. Wouldn't it be more interesting if the story that he told Obi-Wan was true? And while his and Count Dooku is not a Sith, he's a Jedi, but a renegade Jedi. And the way that he handles his business is very different from the other people because he's realized that the Council, that the Republic, and therefore the Council are under control of the Sith. The Sith has secretly worked their way in, like Hitler in Germany, which is what the story is supposed to be entirely based on. So, the entire Clone War then becomes the Jedi fighting on the wrong side, and Count Dooku taking as many supporters as he possibly can to try and combat what he sees as the most well-intentioned evil the galaxy has ever seen. Suddenly you get such a much, much more interesting conflict, and just so much more interesting, and the death of Count Dooku and Revenge of the Sith suddenly becomes this terrible tragedy, and Count Dooku becomes so much more fascinating, a character really worthy of Christopher Lee to sink his teeth into, or his fangs into, if you know about Christopher Lee. But instead he just becomes another paper-thin villain. And again, I say, you should have kept Darth Maul around if you wanted a paper-thin villain. He was great for that. Count Dooku is a guy who can talk. Christopher Lee is a guy who can talk. So have Christopher Lee be there as an anti-hero, as like a Professor Snape guy. Star Wars would still be big shit on Tumblr today if they had done stuff like this. This is the kind of plot, this is the kind of intelligent plot thing, and it's not even really all that complex of a plot. I'm not making it any more complex than the actual movie is. I'm just making, if anything, I think I'm actually making it simpler to do this sort of thing instead of this stuff, the really confusing bullshit that George Lucas tried to pull off in these movies. So yeah, I guess those are my feelings on Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones. The main plot is interesting, is actually very interesting. I like where it goes. The biggest difficulty being that the CGI has not aged entirely well, and the ending twist leaves a lot to be desired. And Anakin is a whiny psychopath bitch. The only way I could get through his scenes was to try and imagine a different Anakin. Like, imagine that I in my head just sort of mentally cut and paste a different Anakin. I would essentially just I actually went so far as to start repeating the lines he was saying in a different way than he was reading them, just to try and get him get his annoying fucking voice out of my head, and his annoying facial expressions too. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Yeah, so check back next week when we'll be talking about I don't even know what the fuck. Bye-bye. Oh, and like and subscribe and favorite and comment if you disagree with me or agree with me or want to say something completely different. Just, I mean, if you want to tell me about how your day's been, I will definitely listen to you, and and if you want some life advice, I'll be there for you. Maybe. Bye.